How long does a child wait before realizing no one is coming back? She sat alone on the curb of a gas station, 6 years old, eyes fixed on the road. "I'll be right back," he said. But the night came. Then morning. And still, no one. Somewhere, a phone rang. A voice answered. Then silence. Then goodbye. Years later, the questions still lingered. Why was she left behind? Why did no one ever come back? She thought the past was buried. But secrets have a way of clawing to the surface. And what she finds changes everything. Think you know why a child gets abandoned? You don't. Stay with her. The truth is just beginning. Are we getting snacks? The girl's voice was soft, hopeful. Her knees were pulled up to her chest, pink sneakers tapping nervously against the car seat. She watched the empty road stretch on, the trees on both sides dark like closing curtains. The man driving didn't answer at first. His knuckles whitened on the steering wheel. "We'll stop soon," he finally muttered. She smiled, just a little. "Can I get the green juice this time? The one with the jelly balls?" "Sure," he said, too quickly. "Sure. Anything you want." When the old gas station appeared around the bend, it felt like a tiny miracle. Dim lights flickering above a single rusted pump, vending machines standing like forgotten soldiers outside a dusty storefront. He pulled up and shifted into park. "All right," he said, forcing a smile. "I just gotta go inside real quick. I'll be right back, okay?" She unbuckled eagerly. "I wanna come too." "No." His voice was sharp, then softened. "Stay here, sweetie. I'll only be a minute." She hesitated, then nodded. "Okay, Daddy." The door opened. Closed. Footsteps crunched on gravel. Then silence. 10 minutes passed. Then 30. Then the sky turned purple, and still she waited. She pressed her nose to the window, fogging the glass with her breath. No sign of him. She opened the door and stepped outside, the night air prickling her skin. "Daddy," she called, voice trembling. "Did you forget something?" No answer. Just wind. A loose flyer flapped against the vending machine, advertising motor oil from 5 years ago. She sat on the curb, wrapping her arms around herself. The candy wrapper he gave her fluttered from her lap and drifted down the street. "I was good today," she whispered to the air. "I didn't make a mess." A car passed without stopping. Then another. The night deepened. She stopped speaking after a while, lips too cold to move. Her body rocked slightly as if comforting itself. Somewhere between dusk and dawn, she stopped expecting headlights. When the cruiser pulled an hour later, its red and blue lights washing over her small frame, she didn't flinch. She just looked up, eyes glassy, cheeks streaked with dirt and tears. "Hey there, sweetheart," the officer said gently, kneeling beside her. "Are you alone?" She nodded. "Do you know your name?" "Ivy," she said, voice barely audible. "Ivy Quinn." He scribbled the name. A second officer made a call. "We've got a child," he said into the radio. "Says her name's Ivy Quinn. Left at the station off Route 37. Meanwhile, across town, a phone rang in a quiet suburban kitchen. "Hello," came a woman's voice, crisp, clipped, and tired. This is Officer Jensen from the County Sheriff's Department. We've located your daughter, Ivy." Silence. There must be a mistake," she said flatly. "I don't have a daughter." The line went dead. She became a file. A report. A liability. By morning, she was assigned a caseworker. By noon, she was a name with a folder. But that night, a woman with tired eyes and a worn denim jacket showed up at the station, shifting awkwardly at the front desk. "I'm here for the girl. Ivy. And you are?" "Ruth-Han. Ruth Quinn." "Huh? Aunt, I guess." When Ivy saw her, her heart lifted, only to settle again when she noticed the strained look, the unspoken weight in the woman's stance. "Are you gonna take me home?" Ivy asked, voice hopeful. Ruth-Han rubbed her temples. "I'm gonna take you. Somewhere safe. For now." The car smelled like coffee and old paper. Ruth-Han didn't talk much, just hummed lowly to herself. When Ivy asked again, "Why didn't my dad come back?" Ruth-Han's grip on the steering wheel tightened. "Sometimes," she said slowly, "people leave before they can say what they really mean." "Did I do something wrong?" That broke something in Ruth-Han's voice. "No, honey. You didn't do anything." Then, under her breath, "It's them. It's always been them." Ruth-Han's apartment sat above a small bookshop, Ruth's Reads, the sign read, though half the letters were missing. Inside, the walls were lined with dusty paperbacks and forgotten stories. Upstairs, Ivy was led to a cluttered room in the back. Boxes lined the walls, and a mattress was pushed against a pile of blankets. "It's not much," Ruth-Han admitted. "But it's warm. And it's yours." Ivy sat quietly on the mattress. "Do you think he'll come back?" Ruth-Han paused. Then knelt beside her and said the most honest thing she could. "I don't know." Ivy looked at the floor, then up again. "Can I still call you Auntie?" Ruth-Han blinked back, something wet in her eye. "Yeah. You can call me whatever makes this suck a little less." That night, Ivy stared at the ceiling. She repeated his last words to herself over and over until they sounded like a lullaby. "I'll be right back. I'll be right back. I'll be right back." But dawn came. And the car never did. Nobody saw her disappear. But now, years later, they'll all wish they had paid attention. The first morning in Ruth-Han's apartment smelled like burnt toast and ink. Ivy sat at the kitchen table, her legs swinging over the edge of a wooden chair too tall for her. She watched Ruth-Han fumble with the coffee machine, muttering things under her breath like damn filters, and should have stayed in bed. Neither of them said much. "You hungry?" Ruth-Han asked eventually, not turning around. Ivy nodded. "A little." Ruth-Han placed a plate in front of her, dry toast and a slice of apple. No jelly. No butter. But it was warm. "This ain't a palace," Ruth-Han muttered. "But it's better than that station." Ivy traced her finger across the rim of the plate. "Am I staying here now?" Ruth-Han hesitated. Then said, "You're staying. For as long as you need." It wasn't the same as forever. But it was the closest thing Ivy had heard to hope. Weeks passed. Ivy learned the rhythm of Ruth-Han's life, mornings at the bookshop, evenings spent flipping through invoices and old receipts. Ruth-Han didn't ask questions she wasn't ready to hear answers to. And Ivy didn't ask when she'd be going home anymore. Instead, she began whispering that word to herself at night, just to remember what it felt like, home. She made no demands. Took up little space. Tucked her toys back into the same cardboard box each night. She learned how to be invisible without being asked. School was worse. The moment Ivy stepped into the classroom, whispers began fluttering like moths against glass. "That's the one. Her dad left her at a gas station." Like? On purpose. She didn't have to hear all the words to know what they meant. The other kids gave her wide eyes and wider distances. Even the teachers spoke gently to her, like any wrong sentence might break something fragile inside her. At recess, Ivy sat under the slide alone, pretending her juice box had jelly balls again. She doodled spirals in the dirt with a stick, and counted clouds like they were answers to a question no one would ask out loud. One day, a boy approached her with a grin too wide to be kind. "Hey," he said, "my mom said you're the gas station girl." She blinked. "I guess. Did your dad forget you, or just didn't want you?" Her chest tightened like a fist. She stood up, stared at him dead in the eyes, and whispered, "Maybe both." The boy didn't laugh like he expected to. He just backed away, unnerved. Ivy sat down again, and kept drawing spirals. That night, when Rutan handed her a grilled cheese on a paper towel, she asked casually, "Did they tell you what the other kids say about me?" Rutan looked up from her book. "No. And if they did, I wouldn't give a damn." Ivy stared at the sandwich. "They call me the girl who got left." "Well," Rutan said, reaching across the table and flicking a crumb off Ivy's shirt, "maybe someday they'll call you the girl who stayed." But deep inside, Ivy never stopped thinking. What if I was never supposed to stay anywhere? And worse, what if they were right to leave me? The rain had a way of coming back in this town, soft at first, then loud enough to drown out your thoughts if you let it. Ivy had lived above Ruth's reeds for nearly 15 years. She knew the creak of every floorboard, the smell of the basement after a storm, the way the coffee pot wheezed on its last breath each morning. She also knew that the quiet wasn't always peace. Sometimes it was just the sound of truths waiting too long to be spoken. That night, she wasn't looking for trouble. She was looking for a pen. Rutan had gone out early, something about overdue invoices and a headache. Ivy stayed back, making tea and organizing the ledgers, trying to distract herself from the memory of a customer who'd asked, "Aren't you the gas station girl?" just days before. She was almost used to that now. Almost. While rummaging through the drawer in the back office, one she usually avoided, out of habit more than fear, her fingers brushed against something thin and papery. Curious, she pulled it out. A small, faded folder labeled Legal Personal. She stared at it. She shouldn't open it. But she did. The first document was formal, cold, some kind of parental release. A wall of official text until her eyes locked onto the bold header. Relinquishment of parental rights. Mother, Celeste M. Quinn. Child, name withheld by request. She blinked. No name. Just a blank space. Just nothing. The date was only a few weeks after the gas station. Below it, typed cleanly and without emotion. This child will not be claimed or contacted. No future legal responsibility or visitation requested. No acknowledgement of kinship necessary. Ivy's throat tightened, but she couldn't stop reading. The next line struck her like a knife. All references to the child are to be removed from any official or family documentation. Gone. Erased. As if she had never existed. She wasn't just left. She was deleted. She sat back slowly, breath shallow. Her hands shook, knuckles pale from gripping the edge of the desk. This was what she had never dared imagine, not abandonment out of fear, or desperation, or even failure. This was intentional. This was someone looking her in the eye and choosing no. She flipped to the next page. Banking records. Transaction notes. A memo. Her vision blurred, but she focused on the numbers. $32,500. Recipient, Rutan Quinn. Memo, living support, no contact, no legal involvement. The air left her lungs. She stared at the page, waiting for the meaning to change. It didn't. She didn't even hear the front door until Ruthan's voice floated up the stairs, casual. Zell? Bakery had that honey loaf you like. I grabbed an extra. What is this? Ivy's voice didn't sound like her own. Footsteps stopped. Ruthan appeared in the doorway, paper bag in hand, rain still clinging to her coat. Her eyes fell on the open file, the papers scattered across the desk like bloodstains. Everything on her face changed at once. I told you not to go through that drawer. So it's true. Ivy didn't raise her voice. It didn't need to be loud. Her words were sharp enough. Ruthan set the bag down and stepped forward cautiously, as if Ivy was something about to break. Listen. She paid you. It wasn't like that. Then tell me how it was, Ivy demanded. Tell me how you let her pay you to take me so she could walk away clean. Ruthan let out a long, shaky breath. Sat down slowly, like her legs couldn't hold her up. I didn't take the money to sell you off, Ivy. I took it because I had nothing. I had no savings, no help, and no idea how to raise a 6-year-old overnight. I was scared. And I was broke. But you stayed. I stayed, Ruthan repeated. I kept you warm, fed, in school. That money didn't make me love you, and it didn't buy silence. It just bought time. Ivy looked down at the papers. You should have told me. You were a kid. I'm not anymore. I know. Silence fell between them, thick, jagged, full of years that now felt cracked and uneven. Ivy's gaze drifted to her old leather-bound notebook, buried beneath ledgers on the shelf. She pulled it close, opened to a blank page, and without thinking, began to write. Ivy Quinn. Then again. Harder this time. Ivy Quinn. One more time. With full force. Like claiming her name could somehow reclaim the life that was stolen. Ivy Quinn. I was here. Ruthan didn't interrupt. She didn't apologize either. She just watched with eyes too full to speak. You can hate me, Ruthan whispered. But I never wanted you to feel erased. Ivy closed the notebook softly. It's too late for that. She stood and walked past her, pausing at the stairs. From now on, I decide who I am. And in her room that night, alone with nothing but her name echoing in her mind, she repeated it like a prayer. Ivy Quinn. Ivy Quinn. Ivy Quinn. I exist. I matter. You cannot erase me. It started with something as ordinary as a dead phone battery. Ethan Quinn stood in the dim hallway of his father's house, thumbing the power button on his phone like it might come back to life through sheer will. It didn't. The charger he brought was in his car. The rain outside was relentless. He sighed and turned toward the study. Dad always kept extras, he thought. Somewhere in that jungle of desk drawers, paperweights, and dust-covered trophies, there had to be a charger. Or at least a working outlet. The room smelled like cedar and memory. Like things you never say out loud. He started rummaging. First drawer, paperclips, receipts, old pens that didn't work. Second drawer, empty envelopes, faded postcards from places they never actually visited. Third drawer, locked. That stopped him. His father's desk rarely had secrets. The man wasn't sentimental, and he wasn't organized. He just existed in broad, unspoken strokes, like a shadow cast over a house that had long forgotten sunlight. But the drawer was locked. And Ethan was curious. He found the key in a cigar box under the bookshelf, tucked between a broken watch and a decades-old photo of himself as a toddler, smiling beside a woman who always looked more at the camera than at him. He slid the key into the drawer. It clicked open with a quiet finality. Inside, a slim manila folder. Nothing else. On the front, ZS, confidential. His stomach dropped. Ivy. His sister. The name he hadn't spoken out loud in years. He didn't even know where she was now. Didn't ask. Didn't try. He sat down slowly and opened the folder. A thick evaluation report stared back at him, stamped in blue ink. Psychological assessment, Ivy Quinn, age 5. Prepared by Dr. Elena Harrow, PhD, Child Behavioral Analysis. He scanned the opening paragraph. Patient displays intense attachment, severe separation anxiety, erratic emotional responses when removed from primary caretaker. Behavior may indicate early signs of attachment disorder, with potential oppositional tendencies. His brow furrowed. He kept reading. It is recommended the child not remain in the custody of current guardians, due to concerns regarding long-term developmental challenges and parental stress. Child is considered high risk for emotional instability. Home environment not suitable for fostering corrective behavior. Then the worst part, bolded, underlined, final. This child may not be suitable for traditional parenting structures. He read it again. Not suitable to parent. Like she was a defective product. Not a child. Not his sister. A problem. A burden. Something to discard. He sat back, the weight of that sentence pressing against his chest like a boulder. Suddenly, he remembered, he was there the day his father came home without her. Vaguely. He was just a kid. 7, maybe 8. But he remembered the silence. The way no one mentioned her name after that. How their mother cried in the laundry room. How their father poured a drink and stared at the wall for hours. And now this. A folder that turned a little girl into a liability. He picked up the phone, heart racing. No signal. Dead. He grabbed his car keys and ran out into the rain. Ethan couldn't shake the words off his chest. This child may not be suitable for traditional parenting structures. Not a diagnosis. A sentence. By the time he got home that night, his clothes were soaked through, but he didn't care. He plugged in his phone, sat by the outlet, and stared at the screen as it slowly came to life. There were no new messages. Just a few emails. Group chats. Nothing meaningful. No one asking about her. No one had, for years. He opened a blank text. The cursor blinked for a long time before he typed anything. Then finally. Do you ever think about them? He stared at it. Considered deleting it. Then hit send. Ivy was reading when the message arrived. She sat in the back of Ruthan's bookstore, her usual spot near the window, curled in a threadbare armchair with a cup of tea going cold beside her. The store was closed. Outside, the street was quiet. The only light came from a single lamp above her, casting a soft glow on the page. When her phone buzzed, she ignored it at first. Probably spam. A reminder. Something unimportant. But something made her glance down anyway. Unknown number. Do you ever think about them? Her body tensed. Fingers frozen mid-turn of the page. There was no name, no context. But she didn't need one. Only one person could mean them and not have to explain who. She stared at the message for a long time. And suddenly, her mind drifted back. The last time she saw him. A boy with tousled brown hair, standing in the hallway, hands tucked in his hoodie pocket. She had cried the night before, after the gas station. Ruthan had let her sleep in her bed. The house had felt like someone else's life. And then he came by. With their father. She remembered the way Ethan wouldn't meet her eyes. She remembered stepping toward him and whispering, "Will you come visit me?" He looked at her, just once. Then down. "I don't know," he said. Then turned and walked away. Ivy stared at the message now, heart pounding. Years had passed. She had built walls. She had told herself he forgot. That it was easier to believe he didn't care. But here he was. She typed 2 words. Every day. Then paused. Deleted it. Typed again. Sometimes. Sent. They agreed to meet at a diner on the edge of town. The kind of place where no one asked questions, where every booth had a crack in the leather and the jukebox only played old soul tracks no one remembered the names of. Ivy arrived first. Sat near the window. Back to the door, intentionally. She didn't want to see him walk in. She just wanted him to sit down like nothing had broken. But when she heard the bell above the door jingle, her hands clenched around the coffee mug. "Please sit. Just sit. Just be here." Footsteps. A soft exhale. The cushion dipped across from her. Neither of them spoke for a long moment. Finally. "You look different," Ethan said. Ivy let out a breath, almost a laugh. "You don't." He nodded. Looked down. Picked at the corner of the menu even though he wasn't reading it. "I didn't know," he said quietly. "About what they did to you. About the file." Ivy sipped her coffee, eyes never leaving his. "You didn't ask." He winced. "I know." Silence again. But this time, it wasn't suffocating. It just was. After a while, Ethan said, "I used to dream about the gas station. Not about you. About the parking lot." The silence. It was always empty. Like someone took all the sound out of the world. Ivy blinked slowly. Her voice was calm, but firm. "It wasn't empty. I was still there." He swallowed hard, guilt etched into every line of his face. "I should have done something. You were a kid. So were you." Another beat. Then. "Why did you answer my text?" he asked. Ivy stared out the window. A car passed. Taillights bleeding into the night. "Because maybe not knowing who I am is a good place to start." She looked at him again. "But I'm not disappearing this time." He nodded. A flicker of something honest and raw moved across his face. "Then maybe I won't either." They didn't hug. They didn't cry. They didn't apologize for all the missing years. But they didn't need to. Sometimes, just showing up is enough. It started with a name neither of them had spoken in years. Walter Quinn. Their grandfather. Dead nearly a decade. A man remembered mostly through black and white photos in cracked frames and the way their father used to fall silent when his name came up. Ivy barely remembered him. Ethan remembered just enough to know he'd never been cruel. Just distant. Like most Quinns. They were in Ruthen's bookstore when it happened. Ivy was sorting through old boxes in the storage room, part distraction, part silent therapy, when she came across a dusty leather briefcase. Her fingers brushed the brass clasp. Locked. Again with the damn locked things, she thought. "Ruthan." She called. "Do you have the key to this?" Ruthan appeared a few seconds later, wiping her hands on a dish towel. "Oh? That old thing." Her voice was too casual. Her smile too tight. "Just throw it out." I think it's full of junk from your grandfather's estate. Ivy narrowed her eyes. You kept junk locked in a briefcase? No answer. Ruthan turned away too quickly. That was all the confirmation Ivy needed. It took Ethan 20 minutes and a thin screwdriver to pop the lock. Inside were a few yellowed envelopes, some brittle receipts, and tucked between pages of a novel Ivy had never heard of, a folded legal document. The seal was unmistakable. Last Will and Testament, Walter Quinn. She and Ethan exchanged a look. Ivy unfolded it carefully. Read it out loud, Ethan said, voice suddenly hoarse. Ivy cleared her throat. To my granddaughter, Ivy Quinn, I leave full custodial inheritance of the house in Fellsbridge, along with a 35% share in the Quinn Trust, contingent upon her reaching legal adulthood and remaining in family custody. She stopped. Stared. Ethan blinked. He left you everything. Ivy's voice cracked. He remembered me. He didn't erase me. Ethan gently took the paper from her hands, his eyes darting across the lines. But this was never read at the probate hearing. I remember that. There was nothing about you. Ivy whispered, because it never made it to the court. She sat down slowly, breath catching in her throat. They lied. Ethan looked up sharply. Who? Celeste. She must have convinced Ruthan to hand over the papers after Grandpa died. And she buried them. That's illegal. That's family, Ivy muttered. They brought the document to someone who mattered. Serena Matthews, estate lawyer, sharp-eyed and sharper-tongued. Ivy had once interned at her firm for 3 miserable weeks, back when she still believed the law was where truth lived. Serena scanned the will like a hawk spotting prey. This is legitimate. Even after all these years? Ivy asked. Serena nodded. If it was concealed deliberately, it becomes fraud. And if we can prove someone intercepted this before probate, that's criminal. Ivy exhaled slowly. I don't care about the money, she said. I care that they erased me. I want it back. Not the trust. The truth. Serena leaned forward. Then we start with this. Celeste Quinn suppressed a legal document to rewrite history. But history has a paper trail. That night, back in her room, Ivy stared at her notebook again. She didn't write her name this time. She just whispered it. Ivy Quinn. Walter's granddaughter. The girl they tried to delete. She looked in the mirror. You still here? She asked her reflection. And this time, the answer felt real. Some wars aren't fought with guns. They begin with a letter. The envelope was cream-colored, thick, formal. Ivy had considered handwriting the message, but Serena insisted it needed to come from her office, with weight and formality, make it undeniable. Inside, one sentence. One truth. I have the original will of Walter Quinn. I do not seek conflict. I seek recognition. I am not a threat. I am the truth you tried to bury. ZS. Serena had signed it at the bottom with her own firm's letterhead, the kind that said, "We're not here to beg. We're here to correct history." Ivy stared at the envelope before sealing it. Her fingers trembled slightly. Not out of fear, but out of clarity. This was it. No more shadows. No more silence. What if she ignores it? Ethan asked. Ivy looked at him. Then she's admitting I exist. Even silence would be proof. Some people fight truth with lawyers. Others use cameras. 2 weeks later, it began. A headline surfaced quietly on a local gossip site, buried among wedding announcements and political scandals. Walter Quinn's forgotten granddaughter makes dubious claim on family fortune. Then another. Insider says Ivy Quinn exhibits erratic behavior, mental health concerns raised. And then, the worst. Sources confirm Ethan Quinn seeking psychiatric treatment following sister's return. The pictures were blurry. The quotes were anonymous. But the damage was real. Ethan slammed his laptop shut. His hands shook. "They are saying I'm unstable," he said, voice hoarse. "That you manipulated me. That I've always had issues." Ivy stood across the kitchen, frozen mid-step. "They are trying to discredit us," she whispered. "They can't erase us anymore, so now they're going to make us look broken." Ethan laughed bitterly. "You know what the worst part is? I used to have panic attacks when I was a kid. Dad said it was weakness." Celeste called it attention-seeking. He looked at her. "Now they are turning it into ammunition." Ivy crossed the room, placed her hands firmly on his shoulders. "They can't weaponize what we own. You don't hide anymore. Neither do I. So what now?" "Now," she said quietly, "we speak first. Truth doesn't scream. It stands tall and speaks clearly." The meeting was set in a quiet cafe turned makeshift studio, 3 blocks off downtown. No cameras. Just a single voice recorder. And one journalist with a reputation for integrity. Emery Langston. Pulitzer nominated. Respected. Ruthless in truth, not spectacle. Ivy sat across from him, spine straight, voice steady. No makeup. No script. Just the truth. Emery pressed record. "You ready?" She nodded. "Let's start with the station," he said. "Where were you when you realized you'd been left?" She didn't flinch. "On the curb. With a juice box. I thought I did something wrong." Click. Record. Click. "And now?" She looked him straight in the eye. "Now I know I wasn't broken. I was inconvenient. There's a difference." They talked for hours. She spoke about the night. The file. The erased name. The hidden will. About Ethan. About Rutan. About rebuilding identity from pieces no one thought she'd keep. But she never shouted. Never begged. She just told the story. And when it ended, Emery leaned back slowly. "You understand this will go viral, right?" Ivy smiled, small but sure. "I'm counting on it." Within 48 hours, the article hit front pages across the internet. The girl at the gas station, Ivy Quinn breaks silence. "I wasn't unstable. I was inconvenient." Comments flooded in. "I remember seeing that story when I was a teen. This is heartbreaking. They tried to erase her. They failed. She's not just brave. She's proof." Ivy sat in her old chair by the bookstore window, phone buzzing every few seconds, and whispered under her breath. "You can't erase what's already written." The lawsuit hit Ivy like a slap, clean, calculated, and very public. Quinn v. Quinn. Celeste M. Quinn, plaintiff. Versus Ivy M. Quinn, defendant. Allegations: defamation, forgery of a legal document, intentional damage to family reputation. It made the news within hours. Celeste's legal team spun the narrative fast and hard. Ivy was painted as a troubled, bitter girl with a grudge and a fantasy. The will? A fabrication. The interview? A publicity stunt. Her past? Unreliable. Her mind? Questionable. Serena dropped the file onto the table in Ivy's apartment that night, her jaw clenched. They're going all in. Ivy just stared at her reflection in the window. Good. This isn't just about the will anymore, Serena warned. It's about your sanity, your credibility. They're going to make you look unstable. They already tried. And they'll try harder. Ivy turned, eyes clear. Then we hit harder. The courtroom was cold. Not in temperature, just in tone. Celeste sat at the plaintiff's table like a marble statue, spine straight, face expressionless, dressed in navy silk and polished detachment. The only sign of emotion was in the tight clench of her jaw when Ivy entered. Ivy didn't flinch. She walked to the defense table with calm, Ethan at her side. He hadn't said much in the car that morning. Just one sentence before they stepped inside. I'm not walking away this time. Opening statements were quick. Celeste's lawyer painted Ivy as a media-hungry opportunist exploiting grief and fabrication to seek wealth and revenge. Serena, in response, said only, "This is not a case about money. This is about existence." Then came the evidence. First, the original will, authenticated and time-stamped. Then, expert testimony confirming Walter Quinn's signature and state of mind. The prosecution tried to suggest manipulation, coercion, even forgery. That's when Serena called Ethan to the stand. He walked up slowly, a copy of his written statement in hand. The room fell still. "Serena, can you tell the court who you are?" Ethan Quinn. "I'm Ivy's younger brother." "Serena, how long had it been since you saw your sister before reconnecting?" "Ethan, 14 years. "Serena, and why did you reconnect?" Ethan paused. "Because I found something. A file my father kept hidden. It said Ivy was unfit. A child not worth raising. That's when I realized. They didn't just leave her. They erased her." Gasps rippled in the gallery. Ivy looked down, jaw clenched. Celeste didn't blink. "Serena, in your opinion, was Ivy ever a danger to herself or others?" "No," Ethan said firmly. "She was a child. And they made her into a problem they didn't want to solve." Serena stepped back. The courtroom remained still for several seconds. Then, Celeste's lawyer stood. "So you're saying your entire family is lying?" "Ethan, no. I'm saying one of us finally stopped." 3 days of testimony. Hours of cross-examinations. Dozens of exhibits. When it was over, Ivy sat outside the courthouse steps with Serena and Ethan. Her hands were trembling, quietly, beneath the table. "You think it's enough?" she asked. Serena nodded. "It's more than enough. You didn't just show truth. You showed why it was buried." The verdict, 1 week later. Courtroom packed. Reporters outside. The judge's voice was flat, firm, final. In light of the authenticated documentation, consistent witness testimony, and lack of legal basis for the plaintiff's claims. This court recognizes the 2013 last will and testament of Walter Quinn as valid and binding. Ivy Quinn is hereby reinstated as a rightful heir to the Quinn estate and legally recognized member of the Quinn family. All charges against her are dismissed. Celeste didn't say a word. Didn't scream. Didn't apologize. She simply stood, gathered her purse, and walked out of the courtroom. As if silence could still be a weapon. Outside, reporters swarmed. "Ivy, will you sue for damages? Do you plan to speak with your mother again? What will you do now that the truth is out?" Ivy paused at the top of the steps. then answered clearly, without hesitation. I never wanted revenge. I just wanted my name back. She turned to Ethan. He smiled. You got it. 2 weeks after the verdict, Ivy received an envelope, unmarked, expensive paper, no return address. Inside was a folded card, handwritten in cursive she recognized instantly. I believe we both want peace. Let's not prolong this. I am prepared to offer a generous settlement in exchange for a non-disclosure agreement. No more interviews. No more statements. No more digging. CMS. Inside the envelope was a check. The number was staggering. Enough to buy Ruthan's shop twice. Enough to disappear. Ivy stared at it for a long time. Then, calmly, she lit a match and watched the paper curl into ash. You could have taken it, Serena said later, as they sat in her office, sun streaking through the window blinds. I don't want her money, Ivy said. I wanted my name back. Now I have it. Serena nodded slowly. She'll never say she's sorry. She doesn't need to, Ivy said. Because I no longer need to hear it. Haven House. Ivy didn't move away. Didn't publish a book. Didn't go on a speaking tour. Instead, she walked quietly into the doors of Haven House, a center for at-risk children, the kind of place where the quietest kids carried the loudest scars. She didn't share her story. She listened to theirs. She worked with a group of 5 young girls, all under 10. She taught them to write their names in chalk. To speak their truths without flinching. To look in the mirror and say, I am here. One day, a shy girl tugged at Ivy's sleeve and asked, Miss Ivy, do you ever feel like you're a page someone tried to rip out? Ivy smiled, soft and sad. Yes, she said. But I learned how to write it back in. Ethan found his path too. He started teaching music therapy at a community center. At first, the kids stared at the guitars like they were foreign objects. Then he played a single note. And something inside them opened. He taught them how to make sound from pain. How to turn fear into lyrics. How to say the things they couldn't speak, through song. And slowly, Ethan began to sleep again. Without dreams that chased him. One quiet afternoon, Ivy found herself driving without destination. The road carried her, like it remembered where her bones still ached. And then, she was there. The gas station. Still standing. New name. Same cracked pavement. Same rusted roof. The corner where a 6-year-old once waited, still unchanged. She wasn't sure why she parked. Until she saw her. A little girl. Alone on the bench, hugging a stuffed bear. Watching the door of the store. Waiting. Ivy's breath caught. She stepped out of the car, heart pounding. Hi there, she said gently, kneeling. Are you okay? Are you waiting for someone? The girl looked up, startled, but before she could answer, a woman rushed out of the store, holding 2 juice boxes. Oh God, thank you, the woman gasped. She gets nervous if I'm gone too long. I was only inside for a minute. Ivy nodded slowly. Smiled. Stepped back. The mother hugged her daughter. The daughter didn't cry. And Ivy did. Not out of pain. Not from fear. But because, for the first time, she understood. The little girl inside her wasn't waiting anymore. She was safe. That night, Ivy opened her notebook. She didn't write her name. Didn't circle it. Didn't need to. Instead, on a fresh blank page, she wrote, I am not what they did to me. I am what I did with it. If you've ever felt like you didn't belong, Like your story was written without your permission. Like your name was said less and less. Until even you forgot how it sounded. This is for you. You are not a mistake. You are not too much. You are not too broken to be whole again. You matter. You are real. And you have the right to exist, loudly, fully, unapologetically. They may try to silence you. They may try to erase you. But they don't get the final word. Only you do. And if no one ever told you this before, let me be the first. You are allowed to write your story again. This time, in your own voice. And you belong, simply because you exist.